Hello, guys. Another controversial topic here again. Welcome to Ruda 360. Today, we'll be talking about boundaries without the fear of retaliation. My heart is already panting as I'm saying the title. Because in our homes, we are taught to respect elders and never say no to those in authority. In fact, growing up, I was taught to never ask why. So when an elder tells me something, I was taught to not say why, not ask why, right? And such things followed me to adulthood. So saying no to people in authority, those in authority became, or still somehow is still like a strange part of my life. Is still a learning phase for me. And I'm sure many other people will agree with me. In that mindset has made us to become this yes man in the workplace culture, where we are overworked, we are undervalued, we are terrified as being seen as disrespectful. So you always go, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, so that you'll not be seen as not being, in case you do not want, because you don't want to feel as if you're not worthy of that job, so of that role. So you keep doing things to please these people. We've all been there, one way or the other, or maybe I'm not explaining it well. Say it's 5 p.m. on a Friday or a day preceding a public holiday. Then your phone now buzzes. It's a quick request that, maybe in their quick request, maybe it's going to take like 30 minutes, but it will take 4 or 5 hours. Your stomach drops. You feel that familiar tightness in your chest, that feeling of fear. In that moment, you have two choices. You can say yes and sacrifice your weekend, or you can say no and spend the weekend paralyzed by the fear that you're going to be replaced on Monday morning, or judged, or retaliated against. For many of us, especially those with history of trauma, a boundary feels as though you're burning, the bridge. It feels like a bridge burning exercise, because where we are coming from, we equate no to danger. I mean, who were we to say no to people we grew up with or our seniors then? Today on Roda 360, we are dismantling the myth that boundaries are a career risk. We are going 360 on how to set firm professional limits without the hangover of fear, and how to protect your peace without losing your place on the table. So we know that there is a difference between respect and being subservient. Today we're talking about setting boundaries without the fear that the family or the community or the village, unquote, or the office is going to cast you out. So where do we gain that wisdom? How do we gain that wisdom for such calm but respectful, but needed boundaries? We often fear that a no will lead to maybe some form of retaliation. But look at the Christian holy book, the Bible. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, the later verses of it, it says, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. A man without self-control is like a city without walls. What does it mean? If you have no boundaries, you are not kind. Because what many of us don't understand is that, no, what we always think is that if we have boundaries, then we are not good people. But then if we have no boundaries, then we are good people, we are kind, we are nice, which is not true, which is not always the case. You are sitting with no walls, meaning anyone can walk into your city. Anyone can do anything to you. Anyone can walk in and trample on your peace. And you can do same to other people, because since you don't have boundaries, you don't know what it means for another person to have boundaries. Just like they walk into yours and destroy it, you may see yourself, you may find yourself going into other people's, spaces and destroying it because you don't know how it is done. I'm sorry, I'm coming so hard today. In many African traditions, we value or we understand the art of talking things through, right? We can use this in this setting. Talking things through with respect, with calmness, right? Setting a boundary does not have to be the Western coldness. It can be an African clarity. So what is the Western coldness? I'm going to give an example. Back then, I used to be very loving and very loyal to these people. They were people I felt were walking in steps that I like in life. Do you understand? They were not mentors, but they were people that were doing things that I admired. But anytime I went to them or I got close to them, they gave me this coldness. There was a coldness. Maybe that was their own way of setting boundaries. Maybe they would have done it better. Maybe I would have understood earlier that that was their own boundary. But then that could have been solved by some form of clarity. Rhoda, we don't want you around. Not, okay, come, but don't come close. No, it was just coldness, no clarity. They could come to me, but I wasn't allowed to go to them. I think that was some form of high-level manipulation. So, for example, your boss asks you, like, to walk through a religious holiday or a significant life event or even a family or traditional event. The fear here will be like, if I say no, I'm being disrespectful. I'll be the first one fired if there's any form of redundancy going on in the company. But then they have in African way the 360 response, which some people do not like. This is why some people will say some Nigerians are arrogant. But one thing I like about Nigerians is that if they like you, you know. If they want to be in your space, you know. If they want you to be in their space, you know, because they'll let you know. Yeah. One thing, Nigerians can be anything, but then they are not snakes. They are not green snakes in green grass. They come out boldly the way they are. And that's one thing I respect about them. Other people may not be like that. Other people may be the ones that smile at you, yet stab you. Stab you at the back. So, yeah, when your boss asks you to do such things and go out of your way, maybe during a weekend that you had planned to attend a family event or something, what would you say? You could write back and say, okay, something like, sir, or ma'am, or Kira, I deeply value my role here and the success of this project or the success of this organization. However, This weekend is an important commitment for my family. So to ensure that I can give you my best energy on Monday, I must honor this time. Then you say something like, how can we prepare today so that Monday is a success? First of all, why do we even fear retaliation? Why is a simple, I can't take that on right now, so terrifying? If you grew up in an environment where your needs were seen as a burden, where you couldn't even complain, maybe say you have headache, or where talking back led to emotional withdrawal or some form of punishment, then your brain has categorized boundaries as a threat to your survival. That is why we fear retaliation, because where we are coming from, saying no meant some form of punishment, meant some form of emotional or even physical abuse. So in your workplace now, this is manifesting as fawning like is a trauma response where you try to appease others in order to stay safe. But here is the truth. One truth that I appreciate so much. Retaliation thrives on ambiguity. That is having many different meanings to a particular context, different meanings to a particular event. And when there are different meanings to a particular problem or a particular issue, then there is vagueness, there is uncertainty. The thing is not clear. Now, when we set soft boundaries, I call them soft boundaries because some of us think we set boundaries, but they are not firm enough. When we set soft boundaries, the kind that we apologize, we over-explain, we make up excuses, we usually invite more pressure, because a clear, calm boundary is not an attack. It's a set of directions on how to work with you effectively, how to treat you well. If you've been in reading or you've been talking with people, you hear when people say, look, teach people how to treat you. When you set boundaries, that is what you do. You are not being a difficult person. You are just trying to be durable. You are just trying to survive. You do not just want to break. So you are just trying to protect yourself from breaking. That is what boundaries do. So let's take a look at 3 common examples or scenarios of setting boundaries, and how to handle, people breaking our boundaries using the 360 methods. The first one, as a professional or as a career person, the after hours email. When the after hours email coming, your fear may be, if I don't reply, they'll think I'm not committed to this company, or they'll think I'm not committed to this role. But then my response would have been like, I've received your note. To ensure that I give this the focus that it deserves, I'll dive into it first thing Monday morning when I'm back at my desk. It's good to release all that so that you don't hold anybody in mind. Some of us are so angry, secretly angry at our line managers, at our HRs, at our co-workers. Why? Because we do not have the ability to say no, and they do not know. Or even they may know, but they're just using you to their advantage. And you don't blame them because you fear saying no. Why does this work? Because you are not asking for permission. You are just stating a professional timeline. This is when I can do it. this is Friday night. I am going for a family event. At least you know what you're going to do with your time. You're attending to it on Monday morning when you are back at your desk. The second one is this one is those people that pack shifts, shift packers, immigrants, keep packing shift, more work, but then same pay because of the fear of you have to say yes to prove your value. I remember when there was a country I got to, I had to work as a healthcare assistant for a while. And each time I got home, there was a day I was getting home by 3 p.m. and by 5 p.m. I was being called to come back because someone wasn't going to, come by 6, wasn't going to resume work by 6. The fear was I have to say yes to prove my value. I need to tell them I can do. But then I'm not in that space anymore. But for people in that space, it might not be healthcare assistant roles or any healthcare jobs. Your response could be, I'm happy to support this, right? I'm happy to support this duty or this project. Looking at my priorities, which of my existing tasks should I deprioritize to make room for this? Because it shifts the problem of overcapacity back to the manager, back to the person calling you, right? So it's not as if you are incapacitated. You are now trying to tell the person, look, I have this and this and this and this and this. Which one should I drop just to, work on this one you're bringing in? Now you're using logic, not emotion. Now you're not going, they are calling me. Why are they calling me? They're adding more work. No, you're shifting the over capacity back to the manager. So now you're talking. You're having straight, direct conversation, not an emotional response. After all, what do emotional responses in such situations add? Nothing. It's emotional responses is like immature emotional responses that actually make people lose their jobs and not even the boundaries they set. Because look, management respects boundaries. Whether we like it or not, they do. It's the emotional outbursts, the emotional responses, how we react to situations. That is what defines us. Because you can't blame them, it's what they see. The last scenario I have is the co-worker trauma dumping. There are some co-workers that can dump. They want to talk about their trauma, their problems. Every time you sit with them is some problem over. And I used to be that kind of person, right? I like to talk about myself. Everybody likes to talk about themselves. But do you have that time? Do you have the time to sit and listen to another person dumping their trauma on you while you're supposed to be productive at that hour? Do you have that time? Because your fear may be, I don't want to be mean. I don't want her to feel not heard. I don't want her to feel as though I'm not nice or I'm not listening. But your response could be, look, I really value our professional relationship and I want to be supportive right now, but I don't have the emotional bandwidth to hold this conversation right now. Right? So you can ask if maybe you could meet somewhere or some other time, especially if the person thinks you can support them one way or the other. Then you make an appointment for another time. Why this thing works? Because it acknowledges your co-worker, the person, but it firmly protects your own internal energy. So you preserve your energy for that project, for that thing you wanted to do by that time. So again, let's look at the difference between retaliation and respect. There's an African proverb that says, I think it's Swahili. Yeah, from Kenya. Yeah. That says every door has its own key. Every door in the house has its own key. The key to stopping retaliation is dignity. Have self-dignity, protecting your space, having firm but respectable boundaries. When you set boundary with dignity, you are not challenging their authority. You are not being mean to them. You are establishing your value. They see when you set, I just said it. Management respect boundaries. When you set boundaries, they see it. They see it. They like it. They respect it. They see you as a person of dignity, especially when you do the job that you're paid for, and even more when you have the time. The Bible in the book of Matthew says, Matthew chapter 5 says, let your yes be yes and your no, no. When you say yes, let this be yes from your soul. But when you say yes, when your soul, your spirit, your inner man means no, you are living a lie. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to your spirit. You are lying to that yourself that will lie on your pillow at night. You're lying to yourself. Because a life built on a lie cannot sustain a career. And that's why many people do not have work-life balance. Why? Because you're putting all your energy in that role, that career, that you're losing your family. Your finances are not even secured. You're losing every other life you have outside of that job. Why? Because you cannot say no. You don't know when to stick by your yes. This is the reason why many people say yes to some duty and they can't complete it, they can't accomplish it, because they cannot say no to another one coming. A life that is built on lie cannot sustain a career, because you have to keep accepting and developing more lies, just to keep your head above the water. People will eventually stop respecting the person who says yes to everything, who says yes to everyone, because they know that your yes has no weight. Yes, it has no weight. Now, even when you say the right thing, the fear, the aftershock fear is real, right? Your nervous system might still scream that, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Now, this is when you begin to change. There's something called aftershock fear. Because this is you that is not used to saying the right thing because you're trying to people please. Then suddenly you now come up and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to say yes when I mean yes and say no when I mean no. Most times, your system, your nerves will want to deceive you. Tell you, this thing you just said, do you know you're in trouble? It's a lie. When that happens, please, I want you to do 3 things. There are 3 things to do to let your nervous system know you are in control. To let your body know that you are in control. First of all, ask a question. Ask yourself, has this person ever actually fired someone for saying they will handle an email or a job or a task on Monday? Usually the answer is no. Usually, except there's an emergency, except it's truly an emergency. Usually the answer is no. Remind yourself that you are a professional. It doesn't matter if it's 6 months of education you have in that role, for that role. You are a professional. You are providing a service. You are no longer that child seeking approval. You are a professional. You are a person providing service right now. Most of the time, the retaliation we fear would never come. There's a book, I can't remember the name of the book now, that says most of the things we worry about usually never happens. Instead, something else will pop up. People will begin to respect your time because you respect your time. You respect yourself, so people will begin to respect you. This has gone far beyond the time that I thought it would take. My solo videos for these few days, I don't really like making videos more than 15 minutes. People have the opportunity to take in the message. To you as a professional, to you as someone becoming, a boundary is not a wall. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is a gate. You are the only one with the key. And you don't have to be a hero who burns out to be the professional who succeeds. No, you don't have to burn out in order to be that professional, that go-to person. No, in fact, you can be a person of great culture, someone with deep respect, someone with high faith, and still have a locked door on your office at 6 p.m. Still, in fact, you are even more balanced when your time is measured. You work 8 to 5, 8 to 4, 9 to 6, or 9 after 6 p.m. Your door is locked. You're back home, or you're back to your activities. You are not a machine. You are a person. You are a person, my dear friend. So do not fear. Do not fear to say the no, and do not fear that somebody will tell you no, because other people also have boundaries. Other people also have to protect themselves. The right people will respect, the wall that you build to protect what you have inside. The right people will respect your goal. So you are safe to say no. You are safe to say not yet. You are worthy of your weekends. You are worthy of your evenings. You're worthy of time with family or time for entertainment. This is Rhoda 360. Let's keep looking at the full circle. See you in the next episode. Bye.